This is Good Morning Uganda Extra.
Good morning and thank you for being with us on UBC TV. Thank you so much. We are always here from 6:30 till 9 a.m. but we also have an extension of the morning show, which is Good Morning Uganda Extra. Now, in case you've just joined, I'm Robert Chirabonyonyitono, and I just want to remind you that every weekday we are here from 6:30 with a fully packed show of very much information that you need to know about. If you want to be trendy, if you want to be informative, if you want to know how the weather is going to be, the traffic jam, what is in the print media, what is happening globally and also here back home, then it is the show to start with. But also there's some humor and light moments that we make sure we brighten up, we spice up your morning. So why not make a date with us tomorrow? I'll be waiting for you from 6:30. Now, here we usually have a guest with us, and what do? We look at issues of national concern. And this very morning, we'll be looking at what we call a quality assessment in our education program. Rightly, we know that at different stages, we do have what we refer to as national examinations. And we want to look at quality issues regarding the assessment, the role of PLE, UCE, and UACE in our education system. The senior 4 candidates are in day 3 of their exams. Of course, P7 will be there, and the senior 6 will be there. And now, joining me on set, I have an education consultant. He's worked in Uganda for some time and a number of countries in the area of education. He happens to be the CEO of Savannah Consultancy, who is Paul Bendera Ntaro. You're most welcome.
Thank you so much, moderator.
It is good having you this morning.
Yeah, it's a pleasure having you too, and good morning to our viewers. Yeah.
Now, Paul, to start with, when we talk about assessment, we know there are various forms in education of assessment, levels. One time I was speaking to another education consultant, Fajil Mande, and he told me children in nursery should never do exams. So what are you assessing? You don't have to give them pencils and then mark them good, bad, and all that. And someone was telling me, but why should we even after a certain level have this? So briefly, when we talk about assessment in the bracket of education, what are we defining?
Thank you, moderator, for that wonderful question. In fact, what most educators or any other member thinks of when he or she hears the word assessment, what comes into mind is the test or an examination. But assessment is an ongoing process that we use to test whether students have understood what they have been learning. So this can be either graded or ungraded. So when you said Mzee Fajil Mande was condemning giving examinations to nursery kids, I think he was right, because assessment should not only be graded, but we can also assess when you have not graded the learners. Yeah.
So today I want to look at the quality issues regarding assessment. Now that we've defined what assessment is, what are these quality issues?
Now, one, like I have said, it's an ongoing process aimed at understanding and improving student learning. Do we always need to give tests or examinations to test whether the students have understood what they've been learning? The answer is no. For example, a student may come to my class at the beginning of the year if this student is new to me, but there are aspects that I want to see whether this child is developing. So I may use an observation method to tell whether this child is improving or not. The reason why we stick to examinations here is because we are only focusing on standardized testing. But if you are assessing students in all areas, that require. Last time I was talking of 3 different categories of learning: the cognitive, the affective domain, and the psychomotor. For example, if you want to know whether a child is developing well socially, I do not need to give an examination. I will take my students outside during break time and I will see how he or she relates with others. So I can take what we call anecdotal notes and say this child now is interacting well with friends, is able to share. When you put them in groups, is he collaborating with others? Because cooperative learning is also very much encouraged learning. So it should not always be examinations. The reason why we stick to examinations is because we address one domain of learning, which is the cognitive one. Yeah, that's where the issue is.
Now, when you talk about our education system being dominated with exams and tests as a method of assessing learners' progress, what alternatives then would we have? Because we have a class where a teacher in one stream, if there are streams, maybe has 150 students. When they go out to class, school has 1,000 students. Even if you give them group work, and then groups of, the list could be 10, this could be a bit hard. We are not like some of the countries where you may find a class of 20. A majority of our schools are not like that. We could be having them there, but these are then very few.
But we have different forms of assessment. We have got peer assessment. So the issue of the number, I think, doesn't work. That we must give them standard test because of the numbers. What if we put them in groups? The challenge here is that what we do, we identify, we label learners, that these are high ability learners, these are the low ones. Then we group them. We say these high achievers should be in one class, then the low achievers, and most attention is given to those who are high achievers because, like I was saying last time, our education has been monetized. So the number of first graders you get, the more advantageous it is to your school because you will get more students
Actually,
coming
I know the number
to
of schools, some even have gone through them, where it is a bit, it's psychologically disturbing, where they have streams. In my primary school, we had N, now N. By then at Nakasero, if you are P1N, P2N, then when you're going to upper school, that is a senior 3, the other wing, the bright ones would go to N. I was in a senior school where I had a stream called East. East was for those that are very, you know, who will come in senior 1, you'll enter, then you can go to any stream, but as you're going to senior 3, then they pick the best from every stream, then they are put in East.
Yeah, in fact, that is very wrong because we assume that all learners have got learning issues. They say even those you think are the most intelligent have also got learning issues. That's why we are encouraged. These learners have to be mixed up. You may think that this low learner or the low achiever does not have anything that the high achiever can get from, and that is very wrong. That's why an effective classroom is one which has got mixed abilities of learners. Last time I was talking about one of the strategies in teaching, the grouping system. We say you do not, on the onset, group students. You first allow them to group themselves according to interest. Then as a teacher, you go on observing and see whether these groups are becoming effective or not. These students learn from each other. It has been proven right that the students learn from each other. So grouping students according to their ability, that the low achiever should be in this stream, then the high achiever should be in this stream, I think it's a very poor method used in teaching, and I do not encourage schools to be doing that.
We are still looking at now the quality assessment issues in our education system as a country. How do we improve them? Where are the gaps? And now, also, when we look at, I don't want to call them imbalances, but maybe they are. I've always asked myself, what is the rationale of me, Chirabo, who has studied in Kampala, sitting the same exam with someone who has studied in Kabong or any very remote area? No wonder there has always been a difference in performance. So I also want to get your opinion on that, because at the end of the day, they sit the same exam.
Yes.
It is national, one would say, and the standard of grading our education system. But I just need your opinion on that.
I have got here small notes about the question you're asking, and we refer to that as standardized testing. We say this is assignment given to students, same questions are given to be answered within the same time frame and to be answered in the same way. Now, the purpose of assessment in Uganda is to promote students to the next level of learning.
Yes.
But last time I was telling you the interesting information I got when I went to Finland. In Finland, they say the education approach is to prepare students for their future, not for the exams. Now, here in Uganda, our emphasis is on standardized testing. The tests, the examinations at the end of the year. Now, standardized tests help the teacher to compare how one student has done in relation to the other, or the government to compare how this school is performing in relation to the other. But we are saying that it creates a system of discrimination. We have been discussing a situation where the low achievers are put in one stream, then the other ones are put in the other. Then we're also saying that standardized it struggles to account for other types of learning. What do I mean here? I have mentioned of the cognitive domain, which deals with the dealing with the intellectual, the human intellect. Then we have the affective, which deals with emotions and the social life. Then the affective, body movement and whatever. So you look at the examination that we have in Uganda, they only cater for the cognitive domain. Students who are good, for example, music or art, are hardly assessed. We are going to have PLE examinations. Is there any music paper that's going to be set for the students whose musical intelligence is high? The answer is no.
That is not examinable.
It's not examinable.
No, what is examinable at that level?
Yes, that's why we are saying that, one, it struggles to account for other types of learning. Then, may not be the reflection of the child's potential. You give an examination, a child who has come from deep in the village, maybe has been exposed to the English language for 2 months. You are setting a paper in English. All the questions you set, this child cannot interpret. But if you asked that child in his or her mother tongue, the child will be able to answer them correctly. So these standard testings, or these PLOE, the UCE, the whatever, they could be good examinations, but the method in which they are conducted does not favor the learners because it does not give their true potential. Then we also say that it creates a narrower curriculum as schools shifted their class schedules to principal subjects, math, biology, chemistry, physics, geography, and they end there. The president has always been talking of patriotism. In second, those who do political education maybe can have something to do with, but those who don't take political education may not have the chance of grasping this. So we are saying that it also narrows the curriculum bit. Then it encourages academic dishonesty. Now exams are on. I was reading newspapers last week. There are teachers who are already in Luzira. That they were trying to sell examination questions and this kind of thing. So those are the ones that have been arrested. But trust me, there are so many schools that are going to engage in these malpractices, but maybe likely they will not be caught. So those are some of the dangers of conducting this. Now, something interesting, I like giving reference to Finland. Finland has one of the best education systems in the world. But in Finland, formal examinations are done at the age of 19 when students are going to university. These other levels, it's not a must. That's Finland. Now, something interesting also in Finland, schools are majorly owned by the government. The resources allocated to schools, whether it is deep in the village, whether it is in town, they're the same. And they don't label that this is the best school, the other one is the best school. No, everything is uniform. Then, they all get equal financial support, no privileged schools. For us here, you know, the privileged schools. If anything is to come from the government, there are schools that will always be the first to receive, which is not the case in Finland. So this one creates an imbalance and some kind of discrimination, like we're saying. Now, they are saying all schools are considered special, and so all learners are combined in different levels. I was telling you that all classes must have mixed abilities of learners, such that these learners can be able to learn from one another. Now, the parents trust their teachers highly because they are highly qualified. Something very interesting in Finland is that for one to become a teacher, you must hold a master's degree. And one fact that I got, they said that only 10% of the college graduates are able to receive the master's degree. Only 10% of the graduates.
Then how will they be able to match with the number of those that need education?
They do. In fact, Finland has not had the question of having
human resource scarcity.
Yeah, they have not had. Because the reason why they don't have so many people aspire to become teachers, if it was the case of our developing countries, there are very few people who would wish to go and join the profession. So those are some of the challenges that we are facing with the... I don't say that we should scrap these national examinations, but I think the system or the method of assessing the learners is what needs to change.
Now, rightly on that, before I go for a break, you seem to have talked about, and indeed which you have done, so much that must be examined when it comes to, or assessed, let's use the word assessed, when it comes to discovering the potentials of a child and in a non-discriminatory manner. But then the big question that comes up is, how can all this be done? How are we going to say we are going to examine someone in music, we are going to examine their intellectual, we are going to examine their social abilities, we are going, what? How will that ever be done?
In fact, it is possible to be done. I want to give you an example. When it comes to science subjects, most schools, or most people always say, but we don't have the resources to buy the...
Even the lower secondary competition.
Yeah, we don't have the resources to buy... to have the apparatus and this kind of thing. But no, students are studying something about plants. How much money do we need to invest in this? There's a school I know, at every end of the academic year, they ask parents to pay 1 million shillings to take the students for a tour in Mombasa. How do you convince me that the students are, the parents are able to pay 1 million for their kids to go to Mombasa, but they cannot pay 20,000 to take these kids to Mabira?
Now you're talking of a class A school. Let's go to the ordinary.
Yeah, even the ordinary one, because most of the things that last time I was saying, what we teach the students must be relevant to them. And we are saying we must teach something that is local and global. We should not go global if we go local. These students need to learn things that are or pertain, issues that pertain their local environment. And these issues are within their locality.
But now the world has become a global village that a child must be able to acquire skills that fit his country's development and vision, but also have a broader perspective of global issues.
Yes, but you are teaching students about soil. For a rural school, what do you need to buy to teach these students about soil? It's a matter of taking them outside class. If you are talking of different types of soil, we have the Kiland, whatever. There is a swamp near my area. It's just a few meters away from there. Why don't you go and get a sample? You come, you get some loam soil, you tell them they identify the sample. Why must it be done on the board? These things are available, but how we exploit our local environment is the issue.
Well, we are still discussing quality issues regarding assessment, and of course looking at the various levels where we do have national examinations given to our pupils, given to our students. Now, we'll be returning shortly after this break. Keep it with us. It is Good Morning Uganda Extra.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda Extra.
Pick of the day on UBC.
Every Wednesday, 10 p.m. on your public broadcaster.
was brought to you by
MTN Momo Pay is the easy way to pay. Dial star 165 star 3 hash or use the MTN Momo app. You don't need cash. MTN Momo Pay is safe and free.
Pay or shop with MTN Momo and get cash back every week. It's free of charge.
Wano nno tuli Bukoto era lero wetugenda okugaba pichipichi yaffe eri omwanguzi waffe wano wetuzze.
I'm so excited and I'm sure even all the people, all the staff at Kwaliwath, they're all excited. We thank you very, very much.
Myaka 25 nga MTN eweereza naye nga buli week tugaba pichipichi 5.
Very, very excited. I'm excited about MTN giving back to its customers. I'm really grateful. Thank you so much, MTN.
The fact that we have won really shows that people like Mama. Their services are really nice. MTN, your services are okay. The network is good. We are satisfied.
Chikola sense ne?
Use the Momo app or dial star 165 star 3 hash.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda Extra.
Welcome back from that break. Thank you so much for still being with us on UBC TV. It is Good Morning Uganda Extra, an extension of Good Morning Uganda. And I'm Robert Chirabonyo, and I have an education consultant, that is Paul Bendera Ntalo, who is the CEO of that Savannah Consultants. Now we are looking at quality issues regarding assessment, the relevance of PLE, USCE, and of course UACE as well. Now tonight in Behind the Headlines, we'll still be looking at the same topic. Well, let's take a look at this. And that is the panel that you're going to be having at exactly 10 p.m. Behind the Headlines will be kicking off, and panel very potential people when it comes to the field of education. So you can't afford to miss at exactly 10 when Behind the Headlines will be kicking off. But coming back to the studios, we are still looking at this assessment. And I want us to look at two particular areas now. How these assessments affect learning.
Thank you so much, moderator. Assessment is very important as far as the student's learning is concerned. And like you have put it, the nature of assessment the child gets will motivate him or her to have more interest in learning. What our teachers miss is the most crucial assessment part or format, the diagnostic one, which happens at the start of the day or at the start of the unit or the topic or the year or the term. Now, diagnostic assessment helps the teacher to ascertain the background knowledge a learner has on the concept that is going to be introduced or the topic. So when you capture the learner's interest, one is going to be motivated to learn. There are things that we call filters of knowledge when it comes to learning. For a child to pay attention to what is going to happen or what is going to learn, there are a number of factors. One is interest. If you bring a topic which is of less interest to the learners, then they are highly likely to be demotivated when it comes to learning. It's like us human beings. You remember last time during COVID, whenever they announced that the president was going to give a speech, because most people wanted to hear whether the president was going to lift the lockdown or not, everybody would be on television or the radio. So the interest was high. This also applies to learners. Anything that you are going to introduce in class must be of high interest to the learners. So as a teacher, you need to do diagnostic assessment. And do students have any background information about this? That is one. Then two, even the methods that you use, the assessment methods that you are going to use. For us here, we assume that assessing learners on paper is of interest to all students, which might not be possible. Can we use different methods? For example, if students are going to, if they are being assessed about anything to do with the solar system, must they answer questions on a paper? Why don't you allow those ones who want to create a model of the solar system to do that? They come and present to their friends. Those who want to write an essay, why don't you allow them? Those who want to create Google Slides, why don't you allow them? But the challenge with us here is everything must be on paper. Ask this question, you answer it this way. And all answers are expected. Yet these learners are not from the same background. Yeah.
Then how does it motivate or demotivate a learner?
Yeah, like I have said, if at the diagnostic level, if the students find interested in the topic, then they are going to be motivated to engage in the learning process, and even they will be motivated. Like I've told you.
No, I'm talking about the assessment.
Yes.
How does PLE, how does UCE, how do they motivate or demotivate a learner?
For a student who does those examinations and scores high and passes, that child will be motivated.
Okay.
But one who doesn't will be demotivated. And I told you there is
not inspired to work harder.
Exactly. Exactly. And we are talking of PLE. Let us talk at the end of the term. A child comes and does examinations and finds that he has got 0 in everything. The child is going to lose morale. But one who gets, I'm a teacher, if a child gets something wrong and is given right, he's even motivated, much as the answer he has given is wrong. But because he has been given a tick, or he has been given 90 or whatever, the child gets motivated by the marks he's seeing or the grade. So that there is an issue there. A child who has been performing so well, you give an examination and is the last in class, is going to get demotivated. Plan. So we have to be careful with when we are giving these kinds of assessments. What methods are we using and what tools are we using? There is a very important tool that we use in assessment. It's called a rubric. A rubric outlines what my expectations are when I'm asking you to carry out a particular function or an assessment. You are going to carry out an investigation, then I tell you I'm going to look at organization. If your work is well organized, I'm going to give you 4. If it's not well organized, I give you 2 or 3. So the student, this one checks, and it helps the student to check what is expected of when he's writing his or her final assessment task.
Well, we are still looking at quality issues regarding assessment, and we've decided to focus on the relevance of PLE, UCE, and UACE. These are national examinations that our students, our people sit at the end of every particular grouping of our education system. And I'm still with Bandera here trying to discuss and understand how best we can improve this. We've looked at sometimes the imbalances that are created, but also sometimes, according to him, he says, such systems sometimes are discriminatory in nature because various people have various capacities of absorbing and learning, and we may only look at those that have the ability to recall but leave alone others that have various forms of abilities and render them as if they are not so much able, yet they have other areas if they were tested, and they would prove to be very, very bright indeed there and score highly. Now, Government of Uganda, Ministry of Education, per se, and the National Curriculum Development Center are moving towards a process where it is not only the pen and paper that determine the progress to another level or the success, or that are used to examine. And now we've gone into the lower curriculum. Recently I was seeing teachers being told to fill in these forms of assessment and continuous assessment, so they will matter on the final examination that the children are going to be sitting. Let's also talk about that. As a third world country, as this is something that fairly is new, and of course we had 2 years of COVID now, we rolled it out. Some teachers still have challenges interpreting, understanding what it takes. I need your view on that.
Yeah, when you're talking about holistic approach to education, I think that is the best thing that we have to do. And you have talked of continuous assessment. This one in our education term, we say formative assessment. We have the diagnostic, which happens at the beginning. The formative is the ongoing. Then the summative comes at the end to tell whether the student is able to. But this formative, the ongoing one, is very, very important. Why? This is what's going to give the true reflection of the child's potential. You've given a project today. You are assessing a number of things. Self-management skills, research skills, communication skills, all those. You cannot assess all this in a single day or on a paper. But that's why the government is trying to say, can we put this in place? Like I have told you, examination should not only be, education should not be there to help students do examinations to pass to go to the next level, but to prepare them for the future. So these positions that we need these children to have in the future must be tested on daily basis. Assessment. You are going to go to a place of work. You are here working with a number of colleagues here. If your social skills are not developed, you will always have issues with your friends. So these are things that we need to test our learners in. It goes into the affective domain I talked of. The research skills. Are you aware that we still have issues even at university level when it comes to researching? Go and get students' papers at the university and read. When it comes to citation, you'll be shocked with what you will see. So we still have issues. The students don't know how to conduct research. They know when it comes to citation, they don't know what they're referring to. That's why you see issues of plagiarism are very common in our universities here. Communication skills are very important. We have a problem here that if you are a talkative person, they label you as somebody who will be a lawyer or a journalist, that kind of thing. If you're a quiet person, they associate you with a scientist, whether you be an engineer or a doctor. But always tell people, who told you that an engineer or a doctor is not supposed to talk? You saw during COVID, whenever you had issues, ministerial officials would come up almost every day to inform the government or the nation what was happening. The spokesperson for Minister of Health, he is a scientist. But would he go and call a lawyer to come and present what he had to present to the nation just because he's a scientist? So all these skills cut across. We don't have skills for scientists. We don't have skills for, when it comes to self-management. We want people to be organized. Time management and whatever. All these things are cut across.
Very interesting, and of course, we've already said we need to have people that have the 21st century competent skills to be employable and of course to compete globally. Now, this brings me also to look at another area that is of very much importance. We need to produce a student who is going to come out and they do not only can be competing in Uganda, but even over. Now, when we were going through our curriculum, and I've seen many Ugandans criticizing anything that we have that seemingly is not centered on Uganda. Sometimes someone will say, what should we still have? I don't want to mention the topics, this and this in our education system. Why should we still have? And now others, when in the lower secondary curriculum, government reduced time of being in class. I think they study up to about 2, then the rest is practical time. But what is being done in this time? We still have many that believe either we do not have the capacity to put our students hands-on, yet they're also losing out on time they would have spent there. So how best, because consultants will tell you what we are doing now is that this child, we can also examine other potentials, like the Western world, like the Finland you've talked about. But then some will tell you, but still, we are not yet to that.
This question of we are not yet to that, I think it should be eroded from people's minds. Why do you say we are not yet to that? When will time come? Once you identify that we have this problem, we must be working towards solving that problem. The education system that we should have, one, must be relevant first to us.
So now I get you. For those who say, let's concentrate on Other countries have visions, and you find a person, some quote Asia, China, they study in their language, they study, their vision is industrialization, so the child right from infantry is brought to, right from infancy is brought to focus on that area. Then for us, we seem to be everywhere, yet nowhere.
And I don't know where this notion of hours comes from. Because here we are saying the reason why we take children to school is to be able to acquire the skills to solve the problems that face us. So are there specific problems that are global? And there are those. Because when we are talking of global, we have issues like poverty. We have issues like environmental issues, climate change and whatever. Issues of the refugee crisis and whatever. Much as we are hearing about these refugee issues or either in Somalia or whatever, but how about in Uganda? Don't we have these issues?
We do.
When it comes to the issue of poverty, how do we solve poverty? The education the children get must be able to help us find the solutions to solve the poverty issue that we have in Uganda. So you cannot tell me that solving poverty in Uganda is different from the poverty people experience in maybe Taiwan or Indonesia. So when they are talking of going global, I think being able to appreciate other perspectives, that if we have this problem here, and maybe this problem people in Kenya are facing it, is there any knowledge that we can borrow from Kenya, apply it here to solve our problems, or any knowledge that we can export to Kenya to solve the problems? But I don't think that we have specific problems for Uganda, that our education should be tied within Uganda, and we do not need to extend it beyond the borders.
Well, time seems not to be so much on our side. Let me just have your parting shot.
My parting shot is that I encourage the government, especially the Uganda National Examinations Board, fine, we should not eradicate the PLOE, USA, and whatever, but the issue is on how these examinations are set, how the students are assessed here. I think with the introduction of the newly introduced curriculum in lower secondary level, I know they will push that to higher institutions of learning and even the lower, such that the examinations that are given to the students, or the assessment that is given to students, meets the needs of our learners.
Well, I just want to thank you so much, Paul, for your time. And of course, above all, our viewers, thank you so much for watching. And thank you so much for those that have been with us from 6:30 till now. We do appreciate. Well, education is a right, and it must be quality education to bring well, fully packaged, quality people that have gone through school and can provide solutions to the challenges, to the problems of Uganda and the world at large. Have a lovely day. See you tomorrow, God willing, for God and my country.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda Extra.
This perennial, as the name prescribes, is the project for restoration of livelihood in northern region. So it was designed to support the population in order to implement the national programs of wealth creation, improving household income, and this is done through supporting agriculture. And by supporting agriculture, you support seed production, training of farmers, mindset change, and even it went ahead to have components of food security grants, whereby families were given grants to be able to improve their food security. But there was also community-based natural resources grants, which were given to families to put in place woodlots, which would help them to reduce on killing the vegetation and deforestation, looking for energy or for firewood.
Juko.
Yo.
Wachiko.
Check
the shopping, man. What's your secret?
Uganda, haven't you heard of the parish development model PDM?
Yes, I did, but I thought it was just a talk.
No, it is real. I and a few friends together formed a circle, accessed money from the PDM, invested in a portrait project, and now things are moving.
Juko. I thought I was one of your friends.
You are.
But you left me behind.
I didn't leave you in poverty. What you